Hi. So today I want to continue from where I stopped in my previous video. I'm talking about, I remember discussing about children language and literacy. So continuation of children language and literacy, I want to talk about the oral language skills. Where you want to develop, want to build your children language, the language you want them to speak, and the literacy, the things that you need to consider, has the first thing that we need to consider has to do with your oral language skills. Yes, it's very, very important. Your oral language skill, that has to do with what that comes out from your mouth, the particular language you speak when you want to talk to your child, when you want to teach your child, the particular language that comes out from your mouth. That is the oral language skills. And we have what is called the mother tongue. Yes, that is what we call the mother tongue. Either you use the method of mother's tongue, or you use the language of immediate environment. There is like in Nigeria here, there is some immediate environment. That means the environment where you are. Now, sometimes you find out that people that live around there are people that speak pidgin English. And sometimes you find out that that's the first language that children hear. Sometimes you find that it's not actually pidgin English. It might be a Yoruba language or Hausa or Igbo language. That is the immediate environment language. Then the third one has to do with English. Yes, English is the third language I want to talk about today. So when we are talking about the oral language skills, the oral language skills has to do with the building blocks. You can use block. That's where you see children have blocks that they can use to build a castle. And they will say, look at the person who owns the castle is a king. Look at the king. There is a particular block that shows a king. It looks like a person, but in a block form. So that's building blocks. In that particular time, the interaction is going on. Then the language you are using are mentioned. Depending on the language you are using. Then another one is another oral language skill, understanding what is heard. Now you need to look at when you are interacting with your children in area of maybe you are using building blocks. Now you need to understand be sure that child actually understand what you are saying. For an instance, there is always a need of breaking down. As a teacher, as a school owner, these are things you need to look up to in your teachers. That's why if you own a school, you need to go around and know what's happening in classes, mostly when lectures are going on, mostly the area of English and mathematics. Yes, these basic subjects. Or as a parent, if you are a school owner, you should be able to know the language that you are using in school. Teach your teachers. That's where teachers meeting. PTA is not only come and discuss about school, how we are going to build a school, how we are going to pay money, do this and that. PTA meeting, you still need to bring out, and these are the languages we teach our children. Let it be language you use at home when you are doing their homework. There is every necessity of a school building their parents to meet up with because when you are teaching a child with a different language in school, at home parent is using another language, it will affect that child. Yes, it will. So that's be a topic for next time. So let's continue from what we are talking about. So the oral language skill, another one is you need to understand what is it. Make sure that child understands what you are talking about by listening. Make sure that child is listening. Make sure the child is comprehending. There are some teachers, there are some parents that are not being coordinated. You are teaching a child, that child is not listening. You are not understanding. You are not designing it that this child is not listening to me. This child is not comprehending what you are saying. And sometimes you can use physical toys. That's another one. The oral language skill. Sometimes physical toys are being used, but still it still has to do with listening and comprehending. Then the next one under it has to be with expressive language. That's expressive language, using language to communicate, speaking and singing. Expressive language. Now at this area where you want to build a child language or literacy, you need to use an expressive language. You need to use a language to communicate. And when you're talking about early childhood, they have to do with speaking and singing. They are more of speaking and singing. You will speak, oh, if you don't know how to talk, you learn. Even parents, they do it at home with their children. Singing. That's why if you want to be a teacher by profession. Don't be it because you are hungry, you want money, let me get the job. No, you have that enthusiasm need to be there. You need to hunger for it. You need to love doing it. It's something that should be something that you love doing. And when you are doing it, there is excitement. Like me, when I teach children, there is excitement. I feel fulfilled. I feel so excited and so happy. Even if I was worried, once I handle children, I feel happy. That's how it should be. So expressive language is so much important, because dealing with children has to do with speaking and singing, reading aloud. There is every need of reading aloud, even as a parent, because they are still learning language. Now, in this expressive language, there are two things we need to understand. These two things that we need to understand, the two things we need to understand is, if it has to do with letters, we have what we call letter name and we have what we call letter sound. Very, very important in building children language and literacy. Letter name and letter sound is so much very important. I'm going to go deep in this and I'll stop here and continue next time. Let me deal with this expressive language. Using language to communicate. When you want to communicate to early childhood, building your children foundation, very much important. You need to look at either you use letter name or you use letter sound. Now let me break it down. What is letter name? Letter name is, for an example, the foundation letter of children. Early childhood has to do with A to Z. Now when you want to teach a child alphabet A to Z and you are saying A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. That is letter name. There are some schools that are teaching children with letter name. But I want to bring notice to those kind of schools. In this modern